No doubt you've probably seen and read all the "you need a podcast" pontifications from business gurus and so-called podcast experts. And you've decided you want a branded podcast for your own business. You agree with them. It's the right way forward. Well, let me tell you some real dark and dirty truths about this. A lot of people are going to hate what I'm about to say. Oh well. You absolutely do not want to start a podcast in 2024. Unless this is Your Business Needs a Branded Podcast, a Podnows Podcasting educational show teaching brands and entrepreneurs how to leverage podcasting in 2024. So, you want a branded podcast? All right, well, look, here's the deal. If you're going to do it and have any kind of return from it, you're going to need to be willing to accept the following. It's not going to be successful unless you invest. And I mean invest. 5 figures per year minimum. Stop wasting your budget on Facebook posts nobody's seeing and start getting smart. Put it into the vehicle that you fully own, your RSS feed. Nobody can cancel that or take it away from you. Except that there are no shortcuts to competing now. I mean, I'm not saying you need to spend around $20,000 per year on working with a podcast pro, but if you are going to do it yourself, you're going to be wanting to spend at least that on coaching and training if you don't want to be years behind everybody else before you even start. And even then, it'll take at least a decade to be anywhere near as good as a pro. I mean, we'll help you as much as we can, but ultimately, there is a low ceiling on your growth right now if you DIY it. Be okay with not getting much cash back within the first year. I've seen a lot of nonsense on places like Instagram saying, it'll take just a few months to get you a return if you use our winning podcast strategy. Easy for them to say that when they know that the worst that'll happen is you'll pod fade and stop paying them. Sorry, but nobody's listening to a new podcast from someone just because their 50,000 social media followers impresses Susan, an accountant from Aberdeen. Let them flex their influencer privilege. It will not convert. You can still win by being real, though. If you plan to make the podcast a product rather than a marketing tool for your wider business, you'd best be seriously independently wealthy and willing to burn a huge chunk of that wealth. You're going to be emptying your bank account if you want anyone listening to what you're putting out. Oh, and you'll have to set your ego aside and take direction. Properly. Not when it suits you. We professionals know what we're doing, and that's why you pay us. If we're telling you your ideas suck or your audio's bad, listen to us. We're trying to help you. Oh, and here's the thing. Accept that whatever marketing expertise you might think you have means sweet diddly squat in this space. In podcasting, your 7 years of running your sister's jewelry blog won't be helpful for the new skills you'll need to learn to get market share in podcasting. If you can be okay with all that, then you might have a shot at success with a podcast. I mean, this is all that's needed to get any results from your podcast, full stop. But if you want to have a real winning podcast on your portfolio, you'll need to work with me on your podcast. But I'm going to need something extra from you. The right personality. We've got to be able to work together well, since I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, and I don't like shouting from the sidelines for dud people. Here's what you'll need in order to really nail your podcast with Podnows. Have a personality and at least a little bit of humor. Respect my experience and expertise. Don't talk to me until you've done at least a little bit of research on me. Don't be squeamish about paying up front each month. No exceptions. And remember, it costs me time and money to make the magic happen. Sadly, literally hundreds of thousands of other brands have also had the same idea as you to start a podcast this year. And many of them will be in your target niche. So you're going to need the help of a highly experienced professional podcast consultant who can help you get above the noise and have your brand's messaging heard by the right people. As founder of Podnows Podcasting, I've been in the podcast industry since before it even had its name, and therefore I know what works and what doesn't. As the go-to expert in the space in the UK, I will help you create, produce, distribute, and promote your podcast so that it reaches the right audience at the right time. Hundreds of new podcasts are launching every single day. And although most of them aren't that good, some of them are being set up by your competitors in your industry or space. They are taking the awareness. Every single day that you're not podcasting is another day that your competition have an opportunity to leave you behind and work with those customers who should really be working with you. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, you'll be able to click in the show notes to find details of Podnows Podcasting's packages. You'll also find a link to book in a chat with me. Your first one is free. Good luck with your podcast in 2024, whether you work with us or somebody else. But remember, if you're going to do it properly. This is Your Business Needs a Branded Podcast, a Podnows Podcasting educational show teaching brands and entrepreneurs how to leverage podcasting in 2024.